Hello, and welcome to Unexplained Possibilities Podcast. I'm your host, Melvin the Crimson Taurus, and unfortunately, Niema can't be here with us today. She's probably asleep in bed and just kicking it like, no, I'm not getting up this early for that, even though it's no longer early, but, it is what it is. That's alright, though, because we have someone special here with us this afternoon. From Tarot Wisdom using of a modern day oracle and the newly created YouTube channel Life, Love, and the Universe, we have returning for, I think, the 5th or 6th time? I can't exactly remember now, but
I think
anyway.
It might be number 3.
No, I think you messed up my intro. I was supposed to... No!
I'm so sorry.
Oh, well. Returning is Erika.
Hi, everyone. I apologize for my interruption.
That's all right. Believe me, it happens. Actually, it's been happening every single show. So, how you doing this week, or today, this afternoon?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here. Interesting topic you've chosen, so I'm looking forward to the discussion.
The topic this evening, or this afternoon, it's a weird one, and it can go into many different directions because it's so much to it, but we're gonna discuss the old gods, goddesses, and the new gods and goddesses. And by new gods and goddesses, I mean what people are pretty much worshiping in some way, such as celebrities, money, technology, etc., etc. I mean, and it's kind of weird to me looking at it from my perspective, with people just putting things that should not be on a pedestal. Erika, what about from your perspective when it comes to these new gods?
Well, there's a saying, and I don't know it word for word or verbatim or whatever, but it's basically whatever you give your energy to, whatever you give your, I guess, priority to, or whatever you make a priority, or whatever you obsess over even becomes your God. So in a sense, yeah, it makes sense that some archetypes, some things like money, can easily become what somebody worships. That's just one example of it. Money, fame, you name it, that can easily become your God, so to speak.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're aware or not, but did you see this thing? I guess it's maybe 3 or 4 months old now. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not up on my celebrity mess, but Beyonce had her twins or whatever, and she took a picture with them, and she was dressed like the Virgin Mary. I mean, there's something wrong there to me, and I see the symbolism behind this. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's, she's in the Illuminati with Jay-Z and all that. Who knows? Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I have no clue. But I do see the symbolism there, and it's something about it that's just weird, because it's almost as if people do worship her, and...
Well, her beehive worships her.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was getting to. Like, they call her the queen bee, and of course the queen rules the hive, and these people will do pretty much anything she says. She can tell them to go out naked, eat some dog poo, and pee on a cop, and they will do it.
Human drones, or yeah.
Yeah, and is this something that you think's intentional?
It may very well be. I mean, if you think about how Hollywood, okay, they put these images, I don't know what they do to attract the masses, okay, that's, fame, obviously. We put these people on a pedestal as if they were any different from us. I mean, we all bleed red, don't we? So, yeah, I think they do. There must be something behind it, that they know how to manipulate the masses in some way to have them be attracted to these people the way that they are, to a point where they lose all sense of self. They're living vicariously, I think, a lot of times through these celebrities. And maybe that's where part of it stems from. Like, what about your own life? Why are you so worried about what Beyonce is doing, what she's wearing, or not even her? I mean, there's so many of them, Kim Kardashian, you name it. They're so concerned about about what the celebrities are doing that they forget to live their own life half the time. If not, they're living vicariously through them, or they're wishing that they could embody this person, or wear the same clothes, the same makeup, you name it. So in a sense, yeah.
Of course, we weren't, well, at least I don't think we were alive back in the day, thousands of years ago. But do you think in some ways it was also the same back then with the old gods?
Honestly, I mean, I think it might be worse now. I don't know. We have so much more access to information and, things and people. Once upon a time, you would probably never see somebody across, the other side of the world unless you took a trip there. But nowadays we have the internet. So I think, yeah, they probably lived up to these, or saw these images or these gods as like the perfect embodiment of a certain thing, and therefore worship them that way. Now we just choose people, other humans of flesh and blood to do that with, rather than the personification of an archetype or a virtue, I guess, or a planet for that matter.
Speaking of the old gods, what are the old, or who are the old gods and goddesses? What would that be classified as?
Well, in simple terms, the old gods, if you want to even just take your days of the week, your days of the week, your Monday through Sunday or whatever, or, I don't know, whatever order you want to take it in, they were all named after the planets. And then the planets, I think, were personified into deities. So let's say, for instance, Wednesday is Mercury. So in Spanish, it's miércoles, in Italian, it's mercoledì or whatever. And Mercury was personified with Thoth or Thoth or whatever in Hermes, in Greek, Thoth in Egyptian. So I think it all started with something simple like that. They take an idea, a concept, and then personify it. If that makes sense. Did I just lose my train of thought? Probably.
No, you're golden. Don't worry. So with these personifications, could one say that what we perceive as gods are us, meaning that we created them and therefore we're creators? And usually when you say God or whatever, it's a type of creator. We look at it in a divine type of way.
Mm-hmm.
But would it be safe to say that in a strange way we are our own gods?
We certainly could be if we stopped giving our power away to other gods, whether it be celebrity or physical things like money and, I don't know, fame and what have you. I think we are creators. I think we give these archetypes or these energies our energy, and therefore feed them and then lift them up to the point where we become subservient to these things. I think we manifest them even with maybe our thoughts, our feelings, That's why if you see, when you see me read tarot, sometimes I remind people, hey, you are the creator of your own world. You create your destiny by your choice and your actions, and where you put your energy and your focus. You're choosing every step of your life, and you're creating it whether you realize it or not. It's that kind of thing. So yeah, I think we created them in some way. But I also think at the same time that ancient man looked at the universe and its, his or her surroundings, and, took inspiration maybe from that, even, whether it be the planets, the stars, Mother Earth herself, Gaia. That in itself was to them something grand enough that maybe deserved reverence and respect and worship.
That's a good way of putting it. I never even looked at it that way before. That's actually a darn good way of putting it. I'm going to steal that from you. So
Okay.
so just so you know, the other day before we even like got into this and stuff, you were actually sharing some information on uh, uh this is a Mesopotamian God, and these names just kick my butt all day every day. So forgive me for butchering them, but Enlil, or also known as Azure, I believe. And then there is Ninlil, goddess of the air. And I should have said Enlil is god of the air. So those two, they're cohorts, they go together. How do you say this name? Is it Enlil?
I think it's Enlil and Enki and Enlil. And Enlil. And those are the Sumerian
Yeah, and that's so weird
gods.
because
some of the oldest ones, actually.
Yeah, Mesopotamia is so weird because it's not just one particular area, it's several things and it's
Mm-hmm.
somewhat mixed together. So, when we're mentioning Mesopotamian gods, it could be a mix of Semitic gods in there, like Ishtar or Marduk, and so it's a mix. And Marduk, he's Babylonian,
Mm-hmm.
I think. So
And that's the kind of cool thing about it is when you start going down this rabbit hole, you realize that they've all either maybe borrowed from each other, or it's like whisper down the lane. Like there was one story and then it got taken and turned and borrowed by another culture or another ancient civilization, always had the same kind of ideas or imagery, just called something else. I guess is the word conflate, I guess, when that happens. Just like, Venus and Aphrodite, one and the same, just one's Roman, one's
one's Greek.
Greek.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I don't know if you ever seen this show, but it's a little jingle from Hercules cartoon, and I so wanted to sing it so badly with Aphrodite, and I caught myself, so no one gets to hear my tone deaf singing today. Tell us about Enlil and the connection with man, and possibly, well, no, I won't go there. I won't drive in that direction yet. But yeah, what's going on with Enlil?
Well, I mean, I'm still learning this, so bear with me. It's more like they believe that Enki and Enlil are Anunnaki gods or whatever. This is just, from what I've gathered and what I've learned, that humans, the human race, has been in the middle of this war between them, between these two gods, ever since the beginning of time. And they're still fighting, supposedly, over us till this day. So I think it has to do with maybe our creation, and what we're being used for in some way. I honestly think that's a whole nother topic, though, and I don't know how far you want to get into that.
That's what we're here for, so we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, but it is the two of them fighting over humanity since the beginning. And if you think about it just in general terms, it's the forces of good and evil constantly at war with each other. And we're kind of like collateral damage, just stuck in the middle of this. Maybe war between gods, and we're the prize in some way. That's how I'm I don't know, starting to look at it, I guess, from all the different things that I've learned. It's like we're this precious cargo, and for some reason we're being fought over.
That's how I see it as well, because for whatever reason, in just about every mythology and even religious belief, there has to be, it seems to be some type of fight between good and so-called evil. And then you have people, of course, somewhere in the middle. And like any good story, no matter what, if it's a comedy, if it's a romance, whatever, you have to have a hero and you have to have a villain. And if there
Mm-hmm.
isn't a villain, someone's going to be made into a villain.
Yep.
And I think that's part of what's happening here. But to take it a step further, what if there's actually some truth behind it? What if these gods really are fighting and humans are quite literally smack dab in the middle? Because we'll say, for for example, we'll say they want our souls, you know,
Or our energy.
or energy. Yes. I mean, because, there is Ra versus Apep
Mm-hmm.
and a deity of chaos. There's, like you just said, Enlil versus
Enki.
Enki. There is, um, well, Ragnarok in Norse mythology, even though that's a bit different, but, you had Ragnarok, so you guys can know, literally translates to like the final destiny of the gods, which means that that's the end of the times for them. But they're fighting against the ice giants and the trolls and them, and people are caught in the middle, quite literally in Norse mythology, being that they're on Midgard. So what is happening there? And even by today's standards, in a strange way, it's still happening. Of course, it's slightly different, but look at, okay, here we go. The first personification of America, or the United States in particular, Columbia,
Mm-hmm.
and she said what? Manifest destiny, which meant that we're going to take the entire country, and these savages, these Native American savages, they're the enemy. We're going to get rid of them, and this is ours. And it's like, really, you made an enemy out of people who were here before you.
Yeah.
And eventually, Libertaria, she pops up. And of course, she represents breaking the shackles that binds people in a new life and all that good stuff. But in truth, she doesn't represent that at all. This is just my perspective, but she represents all that's good and fighting the evil of, well, the shackles, people who are stuck in the poor, the hungry, all that. The whole
Mm-hmm.
little gist that's written on it. But in truth, I see her as more of someone who gives power to that type of behavior, and that will lead into a totally different discussion. So I'll save that for another time. But am I just going on a tangent here?
No, you're fine.
So, yes, there is this weird war happening, and it hasn't stopped. It's just taking different forms.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, is it ever going to be a moment where light and dark somehow manage to balance themselves out? And that, I think, is, just there's always a polarity, in life. Like, you can't understand what love is unless you experience hate, and vice versa. You don't know what it is to be, hot unless you've been cold, that kind of thing. So is there ever going to be a point where these things balance themselves out, where everything's at peace? And I think that is where the balance would be, is where everything in the world and the universe itself would be at peace, is if there was balance. But everything's always tipped on, one side more than the other, and there's always this imbalance, and therefore you have this constant warring of energies. And as long as, the two sides are fighting against each other, I think we won't have, a peaceful existence or a universe. So my thing is, it's like, okay, well, if the world is constantly going to be at war with each other, if these gods, if there are any, are at constant war with each other, and we're stuck in the middle, then the only way that I think that we can get to a place where their war, external or whatever it may be, doesn't affect us, is if we find peace within ourselves. We become the balance as individuals. And then Who gives a shit what's happening in the world around us? As long as we as individuals are balanced within ourselves, eventually, maybe the rest of the world will follow. So it's like you got to be the example. If the world is in chaos all around you, right? If these gods in the universe is in chaos all around us, then the only thing that we have control or the ability to balance is ourselves. So if I balance myself, you balance yourself, the next person does. Eventually, as individuals, everyone will find that peace within, be themselves, or be balanced within, and there will be no more chaos. But I think the world is still asleep to that concept, and that's why we are still at war with each other.
Taking it a step further, going back to if we created the gods from our own thoughts or, just our own wants, needs, whatever. And you know how in the Bible it says that God created man in his image? What if we created the gods in our image? And if so, they not only have the positive attributes, but the negative attributes, and the chaos comes from our own selves, and thus creating this turmoil, this weird type of cycle of turmoil, and we become our own torturers.
I could totally see that.
Wouldn't that be messed up?
Yeah. It's funny. A couple months ago, I just had an idea because, and it does go back to the gods. The Egyptian pharaohs believed that when they died, they went into the heavens and they actually became a star. So I was talking about this with a friend, and I said, what if we are stars in the sky right now as we speak, just watching ourselves, looking down on ourselves? And that's kind of like the same idea in a way. It's just kind of different.
Yeah, no, we're going into the Lion King here.
Well, oh, I didn't know, really?
Well, no, I mean, it's a
something to
good
the Lion
thing
King?
because when Simba was having his little breakdown or whatever, Mufasa came and he was telling him that the stars are those kings of the past and they're watching down on you, and it's kind of like what you just said.
That's so weird. You just delivered a synchronicity to me, but it's personal. But anyway,
Uh-oh.
wow. Okay. But that's the idea that I had because we were on this discussion, and I'm like, well, yeah, if we die, we go back to the stars, as if ancient pharaohs believed. And what if we're just, watching ourselves from up above, and kind of like our body's this avatar, and we want to experience, the physical realm. So what if there's this invisible thread connecting us to our star in the heavens, and we're kind of like controlling ourselves that way. Anyway, I don't want to get too off topic, but that's an idea. And I think that, I think maybe you're onto something there. Maybe we are, unfortunately, maybe we don't know that we are the gods and we are creating this all ourselves.
Well, that's just it. I don't think we do know, because here's the thing. Why do these gods want to be worshipped?
Yeah, what would they get out of it?
Yeah, what's the point? Except for if thoughts give power to something, and if you worship something, kind of like what we do now with money and technology and these celebrities, and even government, sometimes food, sex, we give it power and it has control over us. So with the old gods, we're giving them, or they used to anyway. I mean, they don't really worship them now, but they would give them power. So perhaps that's why they demanded worship, because maybe there really was not only a war against good and evil, so to speak, but a war amongst themselves for control over this planet or certain territories. And whoever Whoever had the most worshippers to empower them and build them up wins. I mean, I guess in some ways I'm saying that these gods are tulpas.
Your ideas remind me of, and I only ever watched one episode of it, but Neil Gaiman has a book called American Gods, which I have yet to read, and that's probably why I didn't watch the TV show. Because I was like, you know what? I watched one episode. I was like, no, I need to read the book. But there is a show called American Gods where they, in the show, personify or give you the visual of what it would be to be a god or to experience a god face to face here in the here and now.
Oh, in modern times.
In modern times, yes. So the show was really good, but I stopped myself from continuing forward because I was like, nah, this deserves me to read the book prior. So it's kind of that same concept. Odin shows up in the show, and like you said, technology, there is a technological god in the show as well. And he is, given power according to all the people who are giving their energy to this technology, whether it be you on your iPhone, you on your computer, YouTube, as we are right now.
Technology would not get a dime from you.
I hate it. It hates me back.
Not a single, nothing. Well, that's
You're
pretty
right.
cool, though. I've never heard of that book or show.
I think it's on Stars, so if anybody's curious, not to try to give them advertising here, but it's pretty much the same idea.
Well, I'm definitely going to check it out. So, yeah, free advertisement. Yeah, go ahead. Whoop-de-doo. Congrats. But yeah, I will definitely check it out. So, let's see. Let's talk about some specific deities again. Now, I mentioned this is going to lead to a buttload of trouble, so I hope you're ready.
Okay.
I mentioned the original Holy Trinity, and the Holy Trinity means the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and a lot of people, they attribute that to Abrahamic belief, when in actuality it's found in way more than, what we know now, which, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The Trinity, for the most part, predates that by a good amount of time. So, what I consider the original Holy Trinity would be Osiris, Set, and Horus the Sun. What do you think about that?
Set or ISIS?
I say...
Or if you're looking... Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. You're looking at it from a Father, Son, Holy Ghost.
Yeah, that's how
idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Versus, mom, dad, child. That in itself is a Holy Trinity.
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
What was your question again? I'm sorry, you lost me. What do I think about it?
Yeah, your thoughts on that, and how it possibly influenced culture back in the day and even now.
Well, honestly, I think of a Holy Trinity more, and I know that is the original Holy Trinity. However, I look at it more like through a nature lover lens. Okay, it's like everything in creation has two sides. Divine masculine, divine feminine, and then you have creation, which is the third. So when I think of Holy Trinity, I honestly do think of Mother, Father, Child, or Isis, Osiris, and Son, Horus. It's just, for me, that's the way I look at it, because 1 + 1 is 2 plus 1 and 2 come together to make 3. But that's just my personal view of it. I think everything does have that same concept, though, in life when we look at it. But that's just coming from my own crazy lens.
Well, it's not crazy. It's just a different lens. with the natural Trinity, then we'll call it that. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, I guess the Trinity of nature in
Yeah, the
itself.
Trinity of nature.
Because I'll give you an example, and this may seem a little like hermetic in regards to like the principles or whatever. Trees have male, female, and then everything needs pollinated. That's another idea of that. But if you were to look at it like the way you said, bringing Osiris, Set, and Horus into it, you have maybe the idea of good versus evil, and then the go-between, which kind of is Horus the sun. Am I wrong on that? Or okay, it's kind of like the good versus evil, the light versus the dark, and then the balance that we were talking about earlier, or the one to save the day.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. And it's funny because the mom, Isis, was the one who actually put that in order for the most part. But yeah, you're right. I didn't even look at it like that. And then in some cases, you can compare Horus to Hercules and Jesus.
Yes.
People don't like hearing that. Like, you keep Jesus' name out of this. Like, but I mean, come on, guys. It's true.
It's the sun personified. SONSUN. Right?
Exactly. So, I mean, come on.
I am the light of the world. The light of the world, I think, might be the sun. The SUN.
Here's something that is going to be slightly different. I personally have never heard anyone else speak about this before. But let's talk about Christian God for a second, because he's pretty ancient too. But in my opinion, there are two gods, two Christian gods: Old Testament, New Testament.
I agree.
And Old Testament, he was kind of a prick. I mean,
more like a demiurge, if you ask me.
Fire and the brimstone, and you like me and no one else, and
kind of like a narcissistic, attitude toward his children. That's just.
I mean, it's pretty wicked. And then you have New Testament God, who is, hey everyone, let's love one another. Here's my kid. He's going to sacrifice himself to save you all. And peace, love, and happiness. It's like, okay. What happened for that major contrast? I mean, like, that's a total 180. What happened there?
I think they're different. I don't think they're one and the same.
Now, I actually have thoughts about this, which people are going to disagree, and that's fine. No one's going to agree with everything, but they are going to say, oh, that's interesting. It is going to get them to think. Okay, so we know how there was a civil war between, Lucifer or the devil, whatever you want to call him, and the Old Testament God, as we know. And this could go a couple of ways. One, Lucifer, even though technically that wouldn't be his name, but just for the sake of understanding, we're going to stick to calling him Lucifer. Let's say he was actually in the right. He loved his father so much, he didn't want to bow down to man. And Old Testament God wanted him to look bad. And make him angry, to make him a villain, because the story didn't have a bad guy. And like I said earlier, if a story doesn't have a bad guy, one is created. And that happened to be Lucifer. He's played into that role, and he figured it out, and it made him upset. And the war happens. And what if Old Testament God actually lost, and Lucifer's team won, and he became new God?
I think you're onto something, because if you know anything about just history in itself, it's always written by the winner. It's always written by the victor. So We never get to see the other side of the story.
No, we don't.
You
We
know,
only see one side, which
yeah.
is
And how many times have, people been vilified, and but because they don't know any better, or the audience doesn't know any better, they're soon to take the side of the story they do know because they don't know any better. So there is, I think, okay, the snake in the garden um, has, if you look at the Bible, has easily been vilified for all of eternity. Yet it says in the Bible to be wise as serpents.
kind
So
of contradicting.
how is that a negative? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and to take it a step further, why didn't God want man to eat from the tree of knowledge?
Because we would know, we would see, we would be like him, and that would mean that he had no control over us anymore.
And then now this is where it's gonna somewhat come full circle. What if we're the ones who created him to begin with?
And we woke up.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just so much to it.
It's many rabbit holes.
And of course that the heaven war, that's not the first war, and we're gonna jump into part of the other discussion in a second dealing with this. So new rabbit holes about to open up and everyone's falling in. But that's not the first little weird divinity war that's happened. You had two real famous ones. Of course, one is Ragnarok, but even before then, it's the gods versus the Titans in Greek mythology. And, the story goes that Zeus's father, is it Kronos? That's his name.
Kronos.
Yeah, he was afraid that his children would overpower him one day and take control and all that stuff. And it's funny because and he would eat his kids whole, like just gulp as soon as.
But Gaia's older than Rhea.
Yeah, no, Rhea's the
Okay.
mother. Rhea is Gaia's
Okay.
daughter, and Rhea was married to Kronos, or was with Kronos.
Okay.
Or wait, my notes are messed up. Something is very wrong here. Okay, so wait, let me.
There's too many of them to remember. Like I said, it could take a lifetime to try to learn all of the gods, especially in every ancient culture. There's just too many. And they end up like I said, they end up conflating with each other, even in our own minds as we learn about them. Let alone throughout time and history, they have been conflated with each other. So yeah, don't be so hard on yourself.
Okay, yes. All right, I now can say 100%. Rhea, Kronos, husband, wife. Rhea gave birth to all the gods and goddesses, and Kronos, what he would do is he would eat them. He would swallow them in
Okay,
one
gotcha.
gulp. Okay, so eventually, what Rhea did was she would get stones and wrap them in cloth. And since Kronos was such an idiot and just swallow the thing whole, he would just swallow the stone, and because of that, he didn't realize that he didn't eat the kid, and this kid happened to be Zeus. And sure enough, what Kronos was afraid of happened. Zeus rose up in power, and he was able to free his brothers and sisters, and then the gods versus the Titan war happened, and the gods ultimately won. And probably the only reason gods won was because there was so many of them, and a couple of Titans decided to turn sides. But that's trying to put logic into mythology, so it's no point in doing that. What we have here is the story of the son overthrowing the father, which we also see in a few Shakespearean plays. And
Tale as old as time.
yeah, this is something that it seems to be an occurrence. It keeps happening. With of course, Zeus overthrowing Kronos, and then Zeus, he's freaked out that one of his kids will overthrow him, and he was doing stupid stuff and ruling with an iron fist. And I know there's one story that actually says Hercules does indeed kill Zeus, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, whoa, what? And when you go into, um, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Oh no, I had a major mind fart. What is this?
I think we all go through that. Did you have did you not have coffee today?
I've never had a sip of coffee a day in my life.
Oh, you don't know what you're missing.
That's what I hear. Let's get back on track. So,
I would love to help if I knew the point you were making. I know
uh,
you were getting somewhere and then you kind of lost sight of where you
yeah,
were
I
going.
think the point is that there's always a new god up and coming somewhere, somehow,
In everything,
in
really.
everything. And even today, there's always something new and upcoming. Just like that stupid iPhone X.
iPhone? Hmm. Scary stuff if you ask me. Very Orwellian. I wouldn't buy it or touch it with a 40-foot pole. So,
You know, and it's funny because people are becoming more and more blinded to what's actually happening. I mean, these things are tracking your
it,
movement.
yeah. It's
They're,
bad enough iPhone has your thumbprint, already with the newer phones that are out there. They have your thumbprint. And then now they're going to have your face to recognize anywhere. So they have a thumbprint to match a face now.
I mean, it's
And
ridiculous,
yeah,
and people are giving them this power. I mean, they're
yeah,
creating a new god.
it's a slow conditioning. Little by little, they get you accustomed to it to the point where you eventually accept it. You end up seeing it as normal. To me, it's anything but normal. But if you give them little tidbits, at a time, they eventually start to, oh, this is cool,
Yeah,
all because of a couple of really neat emojis that they've included there. Now you can make them personalized with your face. It's like insane.
yeah, and
Um,
what it is, you get the younger crowd, not the older crowd.
yeah, we know better.
Well, sometimes.
Well, some people, they like it. They like the advancement. They think it's neat. I personally don't. I think it takes away
Um,
from your personal power too.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I can see where some things are awesome. It's like, oh yeah, this is useful, and then it comes with the price. Everything comes with the price.
Everything.
So, speaking back on the new gods, and this is something else people aren't going to like, but in a weird way, patriotism could be considered a new god because people will blindly follow patriotism and support their country no matter what. And they don't understand that you can love your country, but you can also criticize it and dislike things happening at the same time. And
Yeah, it's that balance we were talking about. Like, there's always two sides of a coin. There's always two sides of the story. The thing is being objective enough to understand both sides before making an informed and educated decision. So that's where the lack is. Like, there's always two extremes, yet no balance. And that's what I think part of the problem is.
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a saying that goes, one nation's hero is another nation's biggest villain.
Hmm.
So think about that for a second. So no one wins in that in the end because now you're just creating a new type of, depending on how you look at it, a new type of evil that's coming up, and now they're going to attack you, and you need your hero back, and got to show that patriotism and fight, 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 and take them all out.
Yeah, politics aside, though, if you look at just the world in general, everybody gets a little bit crazy with, they get so I almost want to say mind controlled. You know, they're fed all this stuff, whether it's the news, you know, media, social media, and they just believe the first thing they see, and then they go down, a rabbit hole, and then it's like that becomes their fire, their fuel, and now they're enraged and they believe, all these different things based on stuff that they heard on the internet. you know, it's like, come to your own opinions about things before you make a choice or take action on something. I think people just get a little out of hand that way, and they just believe the first thing they see.
It's funny that you say that because, and this is seen today and also yesteryear, but if you spoke out against a god or their teachings, what would happen?
Well, I guess it depends on what century I was in.
Well, we'll say ancient for right now.
Um, I mean, I'm sure, I'm just guessing, but I would think in ancient cultures, once upon a time, there might have been a little bit more freedom to believe whatever you wanted to believe. I would think there's so many different gods to worship, let's say. One person might be a devotee of, I don't know, Juno, and somebody else, another, of Isis or whatever. You could pretty much worship whoever it was that you felt most, I guess, attracted to. But I guess, just take a couple hundred years ago, it would be blasphemy. You'd be called a heretic. The next thing you know, you'd be hung in the town square for, I guess, different beliefs.
Yeah, I mean, and then, oh boy, you doing the tarot? You're a witch.
Yeah,
Get her.
I'm a witch. I'd be burned at the stake.
Yeah, you'd. I, and I'm sorry, I'm a coward. I'm not saving you. You gotta.
But I read your cards. No, I didn't. Not yet, at least.
No, I still have to do that. I keep
Yeah.
forgetting and getting sidetracked with stuff. But soon, one day.
Well, I'm up for it whenever you are.
Yeah, so don't say nothing if they catch fire. I'm like, well, this is interesting, Melvin. You owe me some new cards. I'm about to introduce something that's going to take us to the outer limits now.
All right.
What if the old gods, and I guess to some extent personifications of the new gods, so Europa, Libertaria, think of them.
Mm-hmm.
What if they aren't divine, they're not tulpas, they're not created by us, but rather these are titles, or the divinity title is something we bestowed on visitors from other planets, other realms or dimensions? What if that's the case? And these extraterrestrial beings were portraying these creators.
That's a big question.
Yes. Welcome to the outer limits.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to rewind that. Can you repeat the question, please? I almost feel like I'm. If I was at a pageant, I'd be like, "Can you please
All right.
repeat the
So,
question?"
what if I'll try to be more specific. What if this planet, it okay, so imagine Earth and it's one whole planet. All right?
Gotcha.
And of course, on the planet as we know it now, there are different continents, and each continent has several countries unless you're Australia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, what if these ancient aliens, so to speak, copyright to or History Channel, what if they decided to visit for whatever reason and they saw man, a very slow evolving species, and they said, okay, we're going to be their creators. We're going to portray these gods that they worship. Or we're going to be gods, rather.
Kind of like usurping.
Yeah. And the world was split into different areas, and each area has their own belief of God. That's why it would be so many different types of mythology, all of them similar but different. And it's actually extraterrestrials that portray gods. And when wars happen, or I guess, for instance, the Titans versus the gods, that was actually extraterrestrials quite literally fighting over control of this particular area or these people.
I think that's a possibility. I mean, even cultures nowadays, like the Hopi, believe in the star people. They believe in the star people as aliens, or they know that they're, well, what we would call extraterrestrials. I think it's definitely a possibility. I've seen pictures of hieroglyphs where it looks like a darn alien ship.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. I think, to be honest, I think there is this physical realm we live in, but I also think that there are other realms or dimensions, I guess, coexisting simultaneously with us. And in only very strange circumstances or instances are we able to pierce through that veil of this physical existence to see through to the other side. Personally, in dream state, I've experienced some strange stuff, and it makes me question. It was actually a conversation I just had yesterday based on a dream that I had, where my eyes shot open. I woke myself up from the dream, my eyes shot open, and probably my brain was still flooded with, those chemicals that occur while you're sleeping. But I could have sworn for a moment I saw something that was not of my physical surroundings. It was like I got a glimpse of something at that moment. So it made me, start the conversation about whether, here's the physical world, and then there's probably other things happening at the same time around us that we just can't see or perceive it with our physical eye. So I do think that, maybe there are aliens. Maybe there are other beings or other dimensions happening, or living simultaneously with us. And on the very few rare occasions, we're able to perceive it. And therefore, when we do get that strange glimpse, we're seeing these, well, maybe ancient people, we're seeing them as gods. Because they didn't know how else to I guess, or what else to call them, if that makes sense.
It does. So now, of course, because this is just how my mind works, but let's say that these visitors, what if they are our creators?
What if they are our creators?
Yeah. What if they're the ones who created us, and they're not gods. They never said they were gods. It's just
we
how
perceive them
we
as
perceive
gods.
them as gods. And who knows? Maybe they were doing an experiment, and from time to time they pop up to see how it's going.
Makes perfect sense. I think, if you want to take it to another level, I have looked into things, and even just with synchronicity, that has led me down these rabbit holes. I think it has something to do with our DNA, to be honest. I think they created us. There's something within our DNA. There may be cellular memory thereafter, maybe, our energy, our vibration, our frequency, something. They're using us in some way, possibly, if that is the case. If they created us, we're being used, or we're being allowed to exist the way that we are for maybe their purpose, not necessarily ours. That's a possibility. And I know it's like way out there, But I like these discussions because it makes you think, it makes you open your mind a little bit and just say, what if?
In modern times, though, how would these visitors fit in with our new gods? I mean, do they even fit in?
Well, if our new gods are technology, then yeah, they would fit in with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, and then of course there are some people who says that certain celebrities are connected to these visitors, and that's actually why they have their rise in popularity. Um, my friend Alien Photog, he said that when he was visited and stuff, and he would actually speak to Orion Grays, they would tell him that they have a hand in picking who gets famous and when they get famous and how they get famous, and it's a lot of musicians. According to him, from what they told him, of course, I'm just relaying what I was told. So take my stuff with a grain of salt. I could be relaying it wrong. I'm not, but I could be. And yeah, it's a lot of musicians that are allegedly put where they are for certain purposes. Not
To sway the
necessarily.
masses, probably,
Yeah,
or to influence.
mostly influence, and it doesn't necessarily mean influence in a bad way, but there is some type of influence there. And just like, well, the reality stars, the Kim Kardashians. Oh,
She's her favorite.
gosh, that hurts me. Like, I don't understand. If I ever get popular off of sleeping with someone on camera, I would really have to question my life and society.
Well, that just goes to show what people, I guess, give their energy to. The saying "sex sells." So, it's, I guess, in a celebrity's mind, bad publicity is probably still good publicity. So it helped launch her career and her business and everything under the sun.
Yeah, and now it's to the point where she probably has to feel like she needs to be idolized. She has to have people pretty much kiss her butt and worship her, kind of like Beyonce and Jay-Z. Uh, Again, I can go into a very big tangent about that. I won't though. I'm gonna.
But people that's the thing. Okay, let's say if she is a modern day goddess, okay, she wouldn't have any sway over anything if people just decided that she wasn't worthy of their energy, of their worship or their idolization. That's the thing. They keep feeding the monster, so it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to expand. She's only going to earn more money, and it's because everybody keeps feeding into it.
Now, here's the thing. What makes her worthy? What made any god worthy? I mean, is it just because some strange event happened at the right time and someone was there to witness it and they just said, "Oh, wow, it was such and such at work and praise be to him." Like,
It's the hype. It's all it is. It's the hype. To me, half of these celebrities they look like normal people to me. The only thing is they have, I guess, all this extra stuff to elevate them in whether it be appearance or their status or their name gets dropped everywhere. They're on the news. They're in celebrity gossip magazines. They're everywhere. So they're constantly forcing it, ramming it down your throat to the point where, people eventually, they're a thing. That's just how I see it. It's just the energy keeps getting fed into it, so therefore it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
now that's not to say that every single celebrity they enjoy that. They always want to be in the limelight. That's not true at all. There are people. They're individuals,
That's
and
right.
that brings me to this point. because we know for a fact, the old gods, they wanted to be worshipped. You worship this one, and they all had their particular jobs. Um, one was for protecting you, or
Hmm.
one was for war, plague, like
One was to for the home
for
life.
instance,
You
like Nanshi, she was fertility, and Nabu, he was the god of wisdom and writing, and there's Anu, the god or of the
know. I know.
constellations.
Hmm.
Actually, wait a second, it was deeper than that. Anu, he was the father of the gods, right? In Mesopotamia,
Anu.
Anu.
Yes, I believe so. Hmm.
Yeah, so he's a bit, yeah. Oops, I shouldn't have name dropped you. You're kind of a big deal. Um, but anyway, what I'm getting at is they all had some type of some type of job.
Quality or virtue. Hmm.
Yeah, versus celebrities who they don't really have a job. I guess be
No, they
entertaining.
just are.
Yeah,
Hmm.
dance, monkey, dance in some way. In some ways, celebrities, yeah, I mean, I guess it goes back to them being our own creations and we control
Yeah,
them.
yeah, and I totally agree with that because the minute you stop giving them so much, how would you say, status, they drop off the face of the earth. They don't even exist. You don't even hear about them anymore. So Kardashian, let's say, if everybody just decided not to give a shit about her anymore, she would have no relevance and she'd disappear. But everybody keeps giving her this importance or making her out to seem important. So that's where you're right in that case. We created these
Yeah,
celebrities.
look
We
at that.
fed the monster.
I mean, we might really be the creators of our own gods, and we just give them so much power, and we forget that we are the creators,
That's right.
us
And
ourselves.
as far as the ancient ones, though, like you said, they had a purpose, they had a virtue, they had a quality that either people wanted to embody or live up to. But to me, the old gods were more or less just personifications of what people saw in their everyday surroundings. The sun, the stars, the Mother Earth. All these things that they saw on the daily, or it was just the things that they wished that they could embody, or the virtues that they wished they could embody themselves.
It was a need.
Mm-hmm.
When harvest was, when you needed water, you prayed for rain, prayed to the rain god. When someone was sick, you prayed to the god of help, like, come on, hook me up. When you
Yeah,
wanted
and
to
it's
get laid, pray to her.
and it's very similar to like I guess I'll give an example. There's certain like medicinal plants, or there's certain plants that have associations. Like there could be a plant that, oh, well, if you carry this in your pocket, it'll bring you good luck. It's just the belief that's attached to it that makes it or gives it its power.
And you know what? That I guess it's true with everything about that, because I'm thinking about myself. Like when we were talking earlier, I was like, I'll wait till 5. I like 5. It's a good number and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, why 5? It's just a number, but I like it. So,
Can you imagine though? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh, I
But
was done. Don't worry.
can you imagine though if we just shifted that power instead of like giving it to other people and to things, if we just redirected that back on ourselves, how amazing we could be if we stopped, giving other people and things our power.
Yeah. I mean, give your energy to yourself. Pump
Uh-huh.
yourself up.
Yeah,
Be your Batman. Darn it.
that's right.
So yeah, I can imagine, because I think about that, and it's just at the same time I think that the powers that be, who also create these gods for control purposes, to keep people away from, well, their inner selves, their real
That's right.
selves. I think they do things intentionally to keep the certain celebrities or certain technologies certain,
They're a distraction
yeah,
from,
patriotism,
yeah.
all. I honestly do believe that because here's the thing,
There's two
you know.
sides to that political coin, though. Remember that.
Well, yes, of course.
They're crazy on either side, if you ask
Of
me.
course. I definitely agree with that. I don't disagree with that. It's just at any given time, you'll see one crazy more than the other.
That's right.
But people who are building these certain celebrities up,
Hmm.
you know, do they consider themselves gods? Because in a strange way, they're controlling people. In secret, people worship them. Everyone does what they say. I mean, of course, it could be also considered a dictatorship
Mm.
and just an insane narcissistic person. But, do you see that sort of thing happening?
I think they might, to a certain extent. Like you said that, Beyonce was channeling the mother goddess with her children in that photo, I guess, when she had her twins.
Yeah. Oh, I was so annoyed by that. I'm not even a religious person, and when I saw that, I was like, "This is so insulting." When I saw, I was like, because I saw the symbolism there.
Yeah, of course. Um, yeah, I think to a certain extent they might feel themselves as modern day gods and goddesses, certainly. As long as they're getting fed that attention and, their attention whoring, then yeah, that's gonna blow their heads up. Why, if you're a balanced human being, you won't let it get to your head. But I don't know. I think they're so surrounded by everybody telling them they're so great, that they start to believe it, you know? So, yeah, definitely.
And then to take it a step further, there are still sacrifices dealing with these quote unquote new gods. It's it's of course not as cut and dry as like killing a sheep or something, or throwing someone in a volcano, but in some ways, people who earn a living, and it's hard earning a living. If you don't have the right connections, if you're just born in the wrong part of town, unfortunately, it's hard. And somehow they have it in these people's heads to where they feel they must offer, well, yeah, give an offering to these false gods, whether it be the new iPhone coming out. Like, I have to
Hmm.
have it. Why? You don't need it, but I have to. I just have to have it. And you're gonna offer your hard earned money for something that's like $1,000 that you don't need. Your phone works perfectly fine, and you could use that money for something way more practical. And it's like, why are you giving them this offering? I have to download the latest Rihanna or Jay-Z, Beyonce, whatever. Like, why do you have to do it right away? Like, I just have to. It's this is I almost said a word that I promised I would never say again. So I'll just say it's hot. We gotta have it and stuff. But why? And when really, and maybe it's just me, but oftentimes with music, have you found that it might be one or two songs that you like in a CD or album, and the other ones are just like whatever?
Trash, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I need to buy the entire thing. What? But you only like two songs. I just have to do it. But you only like two songs. I find that, like, with myself, it's like I refuse. I'm not gonna pay
Yeah.
$10 for two songs.
It's like going to a restaurant, having a shitty meal, and then still paying for or giving a tip.
Yeah.
Bad service and a shitty meal and still giving a tip. You know?
Why? How are we so bamboozled where we're giving them offerings? And that's how I see it. It's
Hmm.
their offerings.
Yeah, I don't know. I think honestly there is it's the influence. There has to be some kind of, I don't know, technology involved in the way it sways people's minds and behaviors. I honestly believe that. Um, the other day I was, talking about, a new mattress. Okay. I'll give you an example. A new mattress. And what happens? In the mail, 3 or 4 days later, I get the same company I was looking at on my phone. I get a voucher in the mail, $100 off coupon on a new mattress for this same exact company that I was researching online. So that happens to me all the time. And it's like, after a while, you got to question if technology is influencing us, or kind of like on the low key manipulating us in some way, or learning our behaviors. Now, I know this is going a little bit into like AI, but what if that is the case? What if, the gods are just taking a new approach, as far as how to influence us, how to gain or to earn our energy, and stuff like that.
You wouldn't be wrong, because there are now ad trackers, and they do your cookies on web searches and stuff like that. They use them, and they try to sell them to the highest bidders and all that stuff. So you're not wrong in that regard.
Yeah, it's like, what if all this information is just feeding one big giant computer
It
or
probably is.
consciousness,
And eventually, because if we look at mythology and if we look at history, eventually it's going to come a time where it's going to maybe not full on Terminator us, but it's things are going to hit the fan. And then we're going to actually legit start worship. I mean, we're already worshiping technology, so why not the brain behind it?
Yeah, it's like our brains are like hardwired now, or, in some way connected to it. Just being on your phone, you're influencing, I guess, the world around you, vice versa, and it's influencing you. It's in some way. I mean, the brochure and the voucher in the mail is a perfect example. I'm here just minding my own business, looking for a new mattress, and here I get a coupon in the mail a couple of days later. That is just some freaky shit, if you ask me.
And guess what, too, though?
And I don't like it. I feel like I'm being watched.
It goes back to the creator forgetting about their creation and letting it take control over them.
It's a good way of putting it.
Not necessarily your mattress. That's just...
Yeah, it's just weird though, but it's somehow strangely connected. Yeah, so sometimes, once in a while, just to be, pain in the ass, I'll yell into my phone and say, I hate the government. Everything's corrupt, like I yell into the phone, just joking around to see if they pick up on it.
Rose does the same exact thing, so...
I know you're watching me.
Yeah, she does the same thing, and she'll take it a step further, though, because in Australia, they vote by mail and stuff like that, and if you don't vote, you get fined. And so on the ballot, she pretty much says, the government's corrupt, F you, F you, F you. So, where are the aliens? So,
yeah, that's a whole nother topic also.
Yeah, Rose I'm just going to say it, she's a nut.
I think once you start to understand that you are an individual, a sovereign being, you can't stand for the idea of conformity and other people placing rules upon you, and you just want to be a free spiritual being.
We're going to wrap it up here with that, the conformity. Is that what the old gods wanted and what the new gods have actually succeeded in doing?
Probably, because think about it. Everybody wants to be like everybody else. So just use the celebrities as an example. I say they live vicariously through these people, or these quote unquote new gods. So in a sense, they have everybody zombified and following and conforming and filing single line. You know what I mean? Behind these beings or these people. So yeah, I think in a way they've managed quite well to achieve that. But if you're your own person, then no, it has no sway over you, no influence over you whatsoever.
Almost like a they live situation.
Mm-hmm. Live vicariously through yourself, I want to say. Live your own life. Stop getting distracted by everybody else and what everybody else is doing. It doesn't matter, you know. That's why the world is crazy.
But hey,
Uh,
would you rather it be plain and simple or crazy and weird?
I don't know, honestly. Um, I don't like it the way it is right now. I could tell you that. It's a little out of my element. That's why I'm trying to like move into the forest, far, far away. Really, I am.
Living in the trees.
Yeah.
Oh boy, you're gonna
It,
be that woman where some guy's just wandering through and is like, "What are you doing?" Like, huh? What?
get out of my weeds.
Get out! Oh no! Nah,
I'll
you'll be
shoot you.
nice. You'll probably offer him some berries or something. Like, hopefully the good
Probably.
berries, not
Yeah.
those wacky berries.
Oh, the wine berries. I have them. They're actually really good.
I still want to try that pie. Yes, I have not forgotten.
Oh, my berry pie. Yep. I have people clamoring for that stuff.
So one day I'm just gonna show up. You're gonna be like, Melvin, where did you come from? How do you even know where I live?
I have friends fight over that pie. It could cause wars. It could probably solve or create peace.
Actually, if you want peace, like, no, it's crazy, but if you want peace, one of the best ways to get it is through eating. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Food.
if it's something yummy, man, I'll sit down. Like, hold up, I'll kill you later. Let's eat some cheesecake.
Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense to me.
I'm serious, man. Everyone likes eating. Everyone has to eat.
That's right.
So,
Let's resolve our differences over a nice meal and wash it down with berry pie.
either that or I say make the world leaders who decide to start mess, make them just box it out. Like, put them in a boxing ring or
Absolutely.
something. Like, you guys
Yeah.
duke it out. Leave everyone else
Go
alone.
into a ring and leave everybody else alone.
All right, so before we totally close out, you created a new YouTube channel. Tell us about
I
it.
did. It's called Life, Love, and the Universe, and it's pretty much just me being inspired by certain topics and talking about them. So mostly spirituality and metaphysical topics and things like that. Even self-awareness, self-empowerment, things like that. Things to lift people up, make them think even. But mostly, I think it's to help everyone recognize their own, spirituality, their own divinity within. We're not just, in a physical body. I don't think, at least, one time it's over and done with and that's it. I think we're so much more than what we realize. And I'm probably going to butcher this quote. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And I think not everybody is awake to that fact. So if I can somehow help wake people up and realize that they are spiritual beings having a human experience, maybe it can help them somehow. That's why I do tarot too. Maybe I can help somebody with a message or a synchronicity, through my channel.
Well, not to, rub your ego too much, but I've actually been helped by your tarot and your new channel. So,
Awesome.
so
That's great. That's what I say. If it just helps one person, then that's it. I've done what I needed to do.
yeah, so I really do need to get a personal reading though and see how that goes. I'm going to do it. Maybe it'll be my Christmas gift to myself this time.
Aw. Well, I'm here if that's what you want or need, or you feel like you have a question. That's what the cards help you do. They help you see the bigger picture when you're kind of in the thick of a situation and can't see it for yourself. It gives you a visual and a pictorial.
All right. And speaking of tarot, are you still doing private readings for people or no?
I am. Yep. Whenever someone seeks me out, they can send me an email at tarotcardwisdom@gmail.com, and I will send information on how to book a reading with me.
Okay. Hope you guys got that. And where can we find your tarot reading and your spirituality speaking?
My tarot channel is called Tarot Wisdom here on YouTube, and my brand new channel is called Life, Love, and the Universe. And you can find me here on YouTube. I'm also on the VidMe app for tarot. I put my tarot videos up there as well, and that's under Tarot Wisdom also.
And all those links will be in the description below, as well as links to Unexplained Possibilities Facebook page and Twitter. And with that said, guys, remember, there are things that go bump in the night. Go ahead and tell them hi. Bye, everybody.
Bye.